And this is why I feel that way. Just applying a little bit of music theory, or rather, I don't even need to think about that, just think about the shapes. And yeah, I'm using a capo here, so it is kind of a hack. But pay attention to my eyebrows, like make it look like I'm really trying. So let me try to explain how this works. So I know C, G, and D, they major. Those three chords really work well together. A lot of songs you'll notice are in those, have those three chords, or at least those three chords are part of the progression. And so if I know those chord shapes, you know, here's the D, here's the C, here's the G, right? I know those three chord shapes. But what's really nice is, again, like I can use bar chords, which is fine. I mean, if I wanted to say move up to the 2nd fret here, I could use a bar chord. So that's an E now, and then I think this is a D, and then we have our A, right? But that's the same shape as the D, C, and G. So if I use a capo here, I can actually just move anywhere on the fretboard and come up with a nice chord progression using those three shapes, because it's matching the C, G, and D without even knowing what the notes or chords are. And here, let me show you. So I just moved it to the, sorry, I was mistaken. I moved this to the 7th fret here, and so I'm going to use the same chord shapes, and it's going to sound nice. So let's go ahead and check it out. Actually, this is a little harder because it's more narrow, but. Now compare that with without the capo. We move back up to the 1st and 2nd fret here, or first 3 frets. And that's those notes that I was playing here. I'll check. I don't even know what they are. And so yeah, let me show you here. I'm on the 7th fret here, and this is the G shape, which corresponds with the 7th fret being capoed. It corresponds to, so this is a G shape. It corresponds to D. So this is D, and then the C shape corresponds to. Let me just check here. G, and then the D shape corresponds to A. Okay, so now we have the chord progression GDA. And then if you go back up, same chord shapes in the first 3 frets without a capo. Here's the G, and then here's the C. Here's the D. A quick way you can actually check, you know that this shape here, this top, your 2nd finger there is G. And if you move that down to where you would have placed it with the capo there, you get D, right? And then with C, that root note here is right here on the 3rd finger, right? So on the A string, on the 3rd fret, 3rd finger, you move down to where you would have placed it for the 7th fret here, and you get G. So you know that's a G. And then again with the D, the reason why it's a D because the root note here on the 4th string here, you got your D string, so you know it's a D. If I move down, if with the capo here, what note would it be playing? It would be playing A. So that's how you know which chord it is. So that's a quick way to find out. Pay attention to where your finger has the root note. So Okay, and finally, you know, this is a higher octave here, right? So you get your chord progression, the G, D, A, back to D. So now that I know that sounds nice, I can go back to my first 3 frets on a lower octave, and I can play the same chord progression. It was G, D, A, D. So I would start with G, D, G, D, A. So, you know, now we're probably in a different key, and we can actually figure all that stuff out too. But if I want to come up, you know, if I know a good chord progression, G, C, D, I can find new ones, you know, just by moving up and down the fret and using the same chord shapes, and then bringing it back to the, you know, the different chord shapes. Bringing it, you know, like I was saying, you know, this is the, so now we have a new shape. It would be the A, right? If I did it on the 5th fret, let's see if we can find that one. So we know this, here it is. So I think that's F, C, G, C, right? So I think this is F right here. Yeah, that's F. Yep. So now we can bring that back up to our first 3 frets, but it'll be F. We'll be playing F instead. So it'll be F C. Hold on a second. So now we got a whole different chord progression to play.